Morning guys, so today I'm covering off on training for health. So this short video I want to cover off on about 3 different terms of training for health. They're all sort of go along the lines of training for a minimum standard. So everyone's got their different standards. So someone like myself versus someone that doesn't really have a history in the gym. So covering off on all 3. We're starting with, let's pretend somebody that's never been in the gym before, an elderly person, they're struggling at home to do things. They just want to be able to reach for things, get up and off the ground a little bit easier, bend down, pick simple things up, things like that. So a minimum standard for someone like this, like when it comes to a training program, would be just what you need to do essentially to be able to accomplish your goals. So someone like this would only probably need to be in the gym twice a week, maybe 3 times a week, covering off on your foundation of muscles. So basic squats, basic split squats, certain shoulder health movements like whether it's rear delt flies, face pulls, supinated pulls, just to sort of encapsulate the shoulder and protect it properly, things like that. So yeah, for your minimum standard for someone that's just looking to be able to accomplish day-to-day life things, that's all they kind of really need to do. So that's sort of the type of program I build for someone just trying to do that. Something that's easy, it's not going to stress their heart, it's not going to stress them out to even get into the gym. It's almost just a quick 30 minutes, get in there, accomplish what you need to for the body and crack on. So the next 2 get a little bit more complicated from individual to individual. So you've got minimum standards, so training for maintenance, training for health. An element of my own training is even in this. So I've hit a lot of milestones when it comes to my weightlifting, the ability to push certain weights, to maintain a physique and look the way that I look, while also accomplishing certain feats to show you guys, look, I can do this, so I can teach you how to do it. Other elements of my training, like my calisthenic stuff, are absolutely not for health. That is something that keeps me in there, keeps me interested, keeps my brain active, things like that. So training for health for someone like me. So you'll notice, like in my own program, I'll train still 4 to 5 days a week, holidays even 3. I'll still take entire weeks off sometimes as well. But the element of my training, especially my weightlifting side, it is absolutely for health, to make sure that my body is essentially as well-rounded as possible. All my joints are healthy, all my muscles are firing properly, so I'm not going to get injured doing my calisthenic stuff. Doing this on such an advanced level will still take a 3 to 5 day program. You'll need to be training weights still between 45 minutes to even up to an hour and a half, depending on like your body composition, what your goals are and things like that. It's still a pretty comprehensive training program, so to speak. Yeah. So when we're talking about a program like mine and training for health, you still need to deconflict all your muscles properly, because you're still going to be expecting yourself to push such heavy weights and on such weird angles, and make sure you're not missing things in your shoulders and in your legs and in your back, glutes, etc. You still need to deconflict your muscles, because a lot of these things, like your big muscle groups being your shoulders and your butt and your legs, you can't hit everything all in one session. It's just inefficient. You're not going to be able to press as heavily or effectively across that amount of time. That's why you'll break it up into multiple sessions, and even then deconflict what you don't hit in those 2 sessions on your next program. Yeah, so a bit more complicated when it comes to sort of a maintenance health regime for someone like myself. Okay, and finally getting into training for health for someone that's got either permanent damage to their body or injuries or things like that. So typically working with someone like this, they'll already be working with physio or even myotherapist, plenty of different people out there, doctors, doesn't matter. Typically they're working with someone like that or have worked with someone like that because they've either had torn muscle, dislocated shoulder, torn ACLs, hip replacements, all these things. Training for health for these people is essentially, in a way, similar to somebody that's never trained in the gym before. You have to train around these injuries with advice from your physio and things like that. You can still do most of the movements. The biggest thing will be just staying away from that pain. So yeah, for these people that are training around their injuries, you're still essentially trying to train as completely as possible. There's just certain movements that you won't be able to do that are usually the mainstream way of targeting those muscles. So you just have to find ways around that. So that way you can still have a completely fully operational body, everything working correctly. To a point, obviously permanent injuries can sort of hinder you for a bit there, but for the most part, short of having a frozen shoulder or something like that, yeah, you still should be able to find out ways to work around those damaged muscles. So for the most part, people with sort of training with injuries, training around those injuries and that, more often than not, these people aren't training for complete health across their entire body. They're training for complete health to do the best they can with the injury that they have and still best train their physique up, their strength up to the best of their ability, really. More often than not with these people's programs, they're still going to go across 3 to 5 days because they're trying to push their limits, take their training a little further. But what you'll find, and what I would do mostly for these people, is essentially, instead of deconflicting your training around multiple muscles and things like that, you'll find that you'll do your smaller muscle groups more often in the week. So those muscle groups that are supporting the injury or the niggly, so to speak. So that's how I would sort of start to build their program, just to support that, just so that way everything's still strong, everything, like your weaknesses are slowly going to catch up to your strengths, things like that. That's what I have in mind when it comes to training for health. So the main thing I want you guys getting out of this training for health video is when you're trying to just keep a minimum standard, whether it's just getting off the ground, things like that, or you're quite fit, you're very happy with your body, just training to maintain the way you look at the moment, you shouldn't be essentially super stressed out about your training. Like, to a point, most of it is just sort of maintenance. Short of like being an elderly person who can no longer get down, some of those exercises are obviously still quite hard for them, like hard being subjective, right? They may not be able to even do a split squat. So even getting halfway down is going to stress them a little bit. But for the most part, your training for health is really just going through the motions, making sure that your program is still deconflicted enough so that you're not missing things and essentially going backwards without you even knowing about it. But a training program built for just health, physique, range of motion, when you've already got the things that you achieved way back when, should not sort of play much of a role on your mind. A great example would be for me, if you ever see me in the gym and I'm just benching my 35 kilo dumbbells, even though I'm capable of much more, you'll notice that even though I'm benching the 35s, I'm finding a way to make it a little harder for me without stressing that muscle to the point of lifting the 50 kilo dumbbells, which is potentially only going to lead to tightness and injuries and nigglies that I'll have to get out later. So yeah, out of this video, guys, just know that if you're training for health, make sure your program is literally enjoyable. Definitely not too long, because at the end of the day, you're really just in there to keep what you've already got and then crack on, go have fun outside of the gym. So hope this helps, guys. If you've got any questions, make sure to send a comment down below, and on YouTube, like and subscribe, please. Thanks. Have a good day.